Welcome back to another player review. If you're interested in any of the other player review videos that I've dropped so far, there is a playlist linked at the top of the description box below. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Drew Eubanks. Here's what I thought going into this season. And Drew Eubanks was very serviceable during the stretch for Portland, but it must be noted that this was coming against some other tanking teams, a very soft schedule that the Blazers were also tanking themselves. And now as far as the storyline for Eubanks this season, it is: can Drew Eubanks contribute to winning basketball? He's never been a big part of a winning team where he's actually had a role, and I'm not entirely sure he can be an everyday rotation player on a team that's trying to win games and reach the upper echelon in a loaded Western Conference. He's definitely good enough to play minutes here and there and be a spot minutes guy and be an insurance policy in case guys get hurt, but I'm not entirely sure he's backup center quality. He struggled earning that designation in San Antonio, where they didn't have the best teams in years prior, but because of a 22-game sample for a tanking Portland team, it now seems like he has that role, and we're going to find out whether or not he can hold that down or not, whether or not he becomes a player that the Blazers feel like they need to upgrade in the middle of the season around the trade deadline or maybe via the buyout market. I don't really trust him right now as a rim protector. I think Eubanks is better as a team defender and a guy maybe playing up at the point of screens, moving his feet. He has decent foot speed for a big man. All in all, the defensive end is going to determine whether Drew Eubanks as the backup center was the right decision or not. So let's see how he fared. Drew Eubanks' stats this year were this. He averaged a shade over 6 points per game and 5 rebounds. Per 36, that is about 12 and 9.5. And as far as goals that I set for him this season, I wanted to see him score 15 points per 36 minutes. It was about on par with what he scored per 36 last season, and he did not come close to achieving that goal, averaging only 11.8. I also wanted to see him get 11 rebounds per 36 minutes, and he only got 9.5. With his defensive mobility, I wanted to see him get a steal per 36, and he got close to that. And then I also wanted to see him get 1.5 blocks per 36 minutes, and he easily surpassed that with 2.3. He was a major shot blocker this year, but it came with some downsides, and we will talk about that. But first, let's take a look at his efficiency. Eubanks had an efficient season. I had a goal of him shooting 60% on two-pointers, and he easily surpassed that, shooting 65.5. That percentage was actually up a little bit above 70% for the majority of the season, and then when the Blazers started tanking and Drew Eubanks was more of an offensive factor, his efficiency went down, but still an efficient year finishing the ball from him. I did want to see him shoot 75% on free throws, and he only shot 66%, so that was a disappointment. But overall, he was very efficient, 66.6 true shooting percentage. He was even efficient from three, shooting 7 for 18. Obviously, that's a small sample size, but it's interesting. The first positive was obviously his finishing. As a lob catcher and a roll man, Drew Eubanks was really good this year. He finished plays well when he was able to get the ball around the rim, finished strong, finished through contact well. I will say he didn't shoot a bunch, and he wasn't a guy that was going to get to the rim on his own. He was basically just a catch the ball and finish a play type of guy, but he did a good job of that. A lot of his looks were high quality, but even some of the ones that weren't, such as contested hook shots, he still did a decent job of finishing. The second positive was some shooting flashes that he showed. That 7 for 18 from 3 is a little intriguing to me. I want to see if Drew Eubanks can expand upon that in the future if he's in the league, because if he's able to become a three-point shooter as well as finishing plays the way he does, then he probably has a spot in the league, being able to stretch the floor and then being able to finish plays. So I want to see if on a larger sample what Drew Eubanks would shoot, because in previous years we talked about Jusuf Nurkic potentially being able to develop a three-point shot, and he did that this year. I wonder if Eubanks could do the same. I thought his form looked better this year. He didn't shoot the ball one-handed like he did last year. He kept his guide hand on the ball longer, and his shot, I think, was better for it. So the shooting flashes I thought were intriguing. And then the third positive is his shot blocking. As I said, he blocked shots at a really high rate this year. He was able to make some plays as a help defender that were impressive, and also had some impressive moments when he was beat off the dribble but was able to recover quick enough in order to block a shot. With that being said, let's talk about the negatives, and there were some for me. I wasn't the biggest Drew Eubanks fan this year, and that was because of a number of reasons. The first of which was his rebounding. Under 10 rebounds per 36 for a center is not good, but I'm okay with it if it's a center that's boxing out the opposing center, keeping the opposing center on the glass, maybe letting his teammates collect rebounds. A lot of times you can't just look at pure rebounding numbers when trying to assess someone's rebounding, but I thought Eubanks struggled not only collecting contested rebounds this year, but he also did a horrible job of boxing out, a horrible job of just controlling the defensive glass, and the bench unit really struggled to rebound because of it. For a guy that's somewhat athletic and decently sized, he should be a better rebounder, and some of it is a little bit lack of effort or attention to detail in terms of boxing out. Some of it is him just not pursuing the ball hard enough. Some of it is him getting out muscled. There's a lot of reasons why Eubanks struggled to control the glass this season. Rebounding was definitely a negative for him. The second negative was his defensive IQ, and this drove me crazy all year long. While Eubanks was a good shot blocker, he chased blocks a ton this year. He bit on almost every single pump fake. He would rotate over to try and block shots even if he had no chance at it, and it would result in offensive rebounds for the guy that he left. I got frustrated with how often he wanted to switch, even in situations he shouldn't have. There was countless times where he didn't get to the right position in time to make an impact defensively. He had some really bad moments of transition defense where he would guard nobody this year. He just made a bunch of silly defensive mistakes all season long, and I think he got overrated because of his shot blocking. And per 100 possessions, Eubanks only averaged 3.1 blocks. I mean, that's actually a high rate for blocking shots, but we're talking about Eubanks blocking a shot on only 3.1% of his defensive possessions. I care about the other 96.9% of his defensive possessions, and more often than not, he was making mistakes. You can't base good defense just off shot blocking alone. I thought he chased blocks this year. I thought he made a lot of mistakes. I thought he was a negative defensive player. Going into next season, I'm not going to set a blocked shots goal because it's kind of pointless. The third negative for Eubanks was a short role play. When Eubanks would play with Dame would get trapped as he normally does and hit Drew Eubanks on a lot of rolls, and he froze up too much. You need to be a good short roll playmaker as a big man to play next to Damian Lillard to make defenses pay for trapping pick and rolls. That is something I like about Jusuf Nurkic. That is something I don't like with Drew Eubanks. There's numerous times he'd catch the ball around the free throw lane and would be wide open and wouldn't even look at the rim. There was times where he wouldn't know what read to make. He just kind of freeze with the ball. He wasn't aggressive driving at the rim when he'd catch the ball on short rolls, and that's part of the reason why his two-point efficiency was so good. He didn't really attack guys as much as he probably should have. I was not happy with the way Drew Eubanks played in the short roll. The fourth negative is his passing. He did average over 2 assists per 36, which was a little bit surprising. I would have expected a number under that. And there was some flashes of impressive passes, but this goes hand in hand with his short roll play. A lot of times Eubanks only saw a fraction of the floor. He didn't make reads fast enough, and he was a bit sloppy with some of his passes, a bit inaccurate at times. I just simply wasn't impressed with Eubanks' passing. And then the fifth negative was his physicality at the center position. I think Eubanks gives up a lot there, and when he faced some bigger centers, I think he struggled. This was a problem going into the season in terms of the lack of big man depth. The Blazers needed another big body in order to battle against some of the more physical centers in the league. At the start of the season, a lot of the time it had to be a 6'5", 6'6" Justice Winslow battling some physical centers because Eubanks just couldn't get the job done in that department. And this physicality issue showed up a lot in terms of his rebounding struggles, but also defensively, banging against some of the bigger big men in the league. Eubanks got bested in a lot of those situations. As far as the future for Drew Eubanks, he is a free agent this offseason. I actually had a dream last night that the Blazers re-signed him. We will see what sort of contract he gets. A lot of people touted Eubanks as one of the better backup bigs in the league. I don't think he is. We'll see if the free agent market reflects that, and we'll see if Eubanks gets paid more than the minimum. I do expect Eubanks to stay in the league on a minimum at least, but I think that's really what he's worth as a third string center. It's going to be interesting to see how his free agent market plays out though, and at this point I do kind of expect him back with the Portland Trail Blazers. I just hope that it's as a third string center because I don't think he gets it done as a backup. After a lack of depth and a lack of good role players this year, Portland needs to address that going into the offseason, and part of that would be finding a better backup big man than Drew Eubanks. I have no idea what happens in free agency for him though, so we'll just have to wait and see. As far as things he should work on, I think he needs to become smarter defensively. How he accomplishes that, I don't know, but he needs to change his mindset on the defensive end from trying to block every shot to just trying to make the right play and be in the right position. Because if he's a guy that just tries to get to the right spot, and sometimes you might not try and block a shot out of bounds, you might try and go straight up and make a guy miss and then collect the rebound, that's better than blocking a shot out of bounds. Regardless of blocked shots though, Eubanks needs to do better on the other 97% of his defensive possessions. So he has to work on that. Maybe it's watching film, maybe it's working with someone that will drill him in game-like situations, I don't know, but that is what Eubanks has to work on. He also should probably work on his three-point shot and try and add that to his game. I think maybe he showed enough flashes of that this year, and for his career, he's 15 for 44, which is 34%. He's a career 73% free throw shooter, so that is decent for a big man, so maybe he can develop a three-point shot. That is something for him to work on. I don't think he has bad touch. We see it a lot on layups. I think Eubanks needs to add something else to his game, and if he can add a three-point shot and then just be smarter defensively, then he could be a backup big man. As far as my grade for Drew Eubanks, I give him a D+. I didn't have high expectations for him going into the season, but he still failed to meet them. He finished the ball well. Outside of that, everything else for the most part disappointed me. Defensively, I was hoping that he was going to be a bit better than he was, but I think he was one of the worst defensive players on this Blazers team this season. A lot of people won't agree with that, but a lot of people get too caught up in blocking shots when they are a small fraction of defensive plays. I thought a lot of the little things defensively Eubanks struggled with, and rebounding wise, he definitely failed to meet expectations as well, and those were the two most important things for Eubanks this year. Control the boards, play solid defense, and he failed to meet both those expectations, so I can't give him anything better than a D+. Anyway, let me know what you would grade Drew Eubanks down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of his season. Do you want him back on the Blazers next year? Is it as a second string center? Is it as a third string center? Do you even think he belongs in the league? Let me know what your thoughts are on the Troutdale native down in the comment section below. I enjoy reading your guys' thoughts, and I will catch you soon with another player review. I am a day or two behind, so I'll have to catch up on those. We'll be done with player reviews on April 30th, and then at the start of May, we'll hop into more off-season content. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the videos. We'll be streaming later tonight on Blazers Uprise Live, our second channel, at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. We're streaming Mondays and Thursdays at 9:30 Pacific time over there. So go subscribe to that channel if you want to catch us in some live streams, ask us some questions and whatnot. And with that being said, I'm out of here. I'll catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.